All right, what's up, everyone? It's Zach, and today I'm here with a very special guest, Lauren Jbara. Lauren, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me. Super.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for stopping by. So, Lauren is a University of Michigan graduate, and after that, spent some time as an in-arena host with the Detroit Pistons and did some sideline reporting for the Oakland University basketball team, and is now currently out in Colorado working as a reporter and host with Altitude TV, covering the Avalanche and the Rapids. So that's a little bit about Lauren, kind of from like a surface level. But Lauren, do you mind kind of diving into your background, what you do, who you are a little bit?
I grew up in Michigan, like 45 minutes north of Detroit, Auburn Hills area. I have two brothers, two wonderful parents who kind of raised me to be passionate about sports. And so my whole life, I've kind of, grown up with that passion and that love of sports, regardless of what it is. Like I remember watching the Masters with my parents and my brothers growing up on Sunday, watching Tiger in his red shirt and just falling in love with it in general. And I went to high school at Notre Dame Prep in Michigan, and then heading into University of Michigan for undergrad, I really thought that I wanted to do medicine. So I actually was majoring in neuroscience. And about halfway through college, I'm like, this is not something that I love. I'm okay at it, I'm good at it, but it's not something I'm passionate about, not something that I love. Conversation with my dad, and he's like, what the heck? You love sports, you have a great terms of like just being really outgoing, why not try it out? And I'm like, okay, I have the, blessing from my parents to kind of go off the cuff and try something that, maybe not a lot of people would go and try. So I finished my major and then I double majored in communication. So which is crazy. It's like, yeah, I'm a neuroscience major. It's so weird
Yeah.
to be talking about sports having a neuroscience degree. But so yeah, I started doing internships all in college. Working for the Grand Rapids Drive as their in arena host. And then I interned for Channel 7, the ABC affiliate in Detroit. Did a little bit for Channel 4, the NBC affiliate in Detroit, and just kind of tried to get my foot in the door, meeting everyone I could, never saying no to an opportunity. And after that, that kind of led to, the Red Wings and the Pistons, and did a little bit of freelance stuff for Fox Sports Detroit with their high school basketball, some stuff for State Champ Sports Network on Fox Sports Detroit, and I did some stuff for radio, for Entercom Radio and 99.5 WYCD, and a little bit for 97.1 The Ticket. And all of that kind of, came together and helped me develop skill sets in different areas, like whether it be, in arena hosting for the Pistons or Red Wings, or doing sideline for Fox Sports Detroit and Oakland University, or doing, voice stuff for radio. And then I also taught fitness classes too. I think there was a point in time where I had like 12 jobs at the same time. But I'm so thankful for those opportunities because they kind of all built skill sets in different areas. And then a couple years ago, I saw there was a job opening at Altitude and reached out, and Kenny Miller, my boss, was like, we'd love to have you out for an interview, and went out for an interview at the beginning of March, and I started my new job there at the beginning of April in 2019. So it was kind of a quick turnaround, but
Yeah.
it all led to where I'm at now. And I'm so thankful and feel so blessed for, the journey so far, and can't wait to see.
That's so awesome. And, it sounds like it's really just kind of been a whirlwind of events from you since kind of like that sophomore year of college.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been. It's crazy because, there's so much room in this industry for
Hmm.
so many different you know, kinds of people who have different passions, whether it be like a specific sport or wanting to do TV or radio. And it's just cool to see, all of the people along the way that kind of help you get to you where you want to be and where you're at. But it has been a whirlwind. I would say, this industry is kind of like a whirlwind in general.
Yeah.
And you probably know that from doing your podcast and everything that you're involved in as well. But, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's like organized chaos all the time, but it's never boring. It's always fun. It's ever changing, and you meet so many incredible and talented people along the way. And I'm so thankful for all of those opportunities.
Definitely. And, it sounds like throughout your experience, whether it was interning or just even where you're at right now, you've had a lot of great mentors along the way. How pivotal or crucial were those mentors to kind of help you become the person and have the skill sets that you have today?
There's not even words I don't think to thank everyone that's helped me get to where I'm at. A big one, big two actually, that both worked for Channel 7, the ABC station, is Brad Galley and Tom Lydon, and they kind of took me under their wing from the beginning and helped me develop those skill sets, whether it be even doing things like going over film and clipping different segments and just learning like all of the behind the scenes things that go into it. And then on top of that, I did some of my first like on camera stand-ups. Granted, they weren't even going anywhere. It was just for me to have, you know?
Yeah,
And I look back at those sometimes and cringe, but they would take time where their job is to cover sports, but they would take time out of their day to be like, you did this really well. This is maybe something you need to work on. And I'm still very close with both of them today. So thankful for them. But there's also so many people that,
yeah,
I just can't even name that have helped me. And it's like the little things along the way, right? It's not even like someone who fully took you under their wing and was like, "Hey, I'm going to help you and hold your hand from here to there." It's like the little, pieces of advice, even if it's like one little snippet of advice, or maybe a that gave you an opportunity for something that you weren't necessarily qualified for, which happened to me quite often. And it's been like those little things and those people all along the way that I can't even be like, yes, it's one or people
right.
in particular. It's like it's everyone kind of all together in general, which has been absolutely incredible.
I love that. And, I think it just kind of goes to show that it's the little things that really can be so impactful and mean a lot. And every single person that you encounter in your journey is really, helping you get there and just something to be so thankful for.
Absolutely. And I, it's cool now because like with the position that I'm in, I love mentoring other
Hmm.
people who are, you know, grow up and be a part of this industry. And I think that's one of the special things is like there's so few people who are in the broadcasting industry, but it also feels like it's a lot of people. And it's cool to be able
Yeah,
to get different advice from all of those people and, share advice and share experiences, that I've gone through as well.
right.
And granted, I'm only 28 years old, so I still have so much to learn and there's so many areas where I can grow, but it's nice to share some of the experiences that I've been through with high school and college students who are trying to, like make a splash in this industry and make their mark on this industry as well and follow their passions.
That's amazing. And, Lauren, I'd love to ask, kind of branching off that to anyone that's listening that might want to, kind of follow a similar path to yours or be in the broadcasting industry, what is, the biggest piece of advice that you would want to give out?
Oh, I love this question. So for me, I have three huge pieces of advice that
Okay.
I want to, share with any even for people who want to get into broadcasting. It's just people in general who want to, try to succeed. And I try to live by these every day. One
Hmm.
for me is just to like be your genuine self. I feel like especially with social media, it's so easy to compare yourself or, put other people down to try to make yourself feel better. And I think it's just so important to stay true to who you are because there's only one of you. And if you do that and you really, build on who you are as a person and a professional, that's going to help you because there's only one of you. So, let your light shine. Another thing for me is just outwork anyone around you. If you put in the work 100% all the time, you're going to be the most prepared. And I think being prepared leads to confidence, right? And to be
Hmm.
successful in anything, whether it be broadcasting or business or, anything else, if you're confident in what you're doing and you feel secure and you know what you're doing, be successful in that. So I would say that's number two. And then number three, never say no to an opportunity. Like I told you, there was a time that I was,
Yeah.
working 12 jobs at once, but you learn so many different things from being a part of all of those things and working with so many different people. And so I would just say never say no to an opportunity, even if it's something that you're like, I don't think this will help me, or I don't think this is, going to help me move up in the industry or I'm not going to learn anything from this. You always will learn something from everything that you experience. So say yes, be open to different things and build those bridges with people because a lot of the time it's such a small industry and even if you're not in the broadcasting industry, I feel like business is even kind of small and whatever you're into, there's you want to build. So never say no
Yeah.
to an opportunity and meet those people, build those connections, and you never know, like maybe they'll help you get to where you want to be, or vice versa. You can help them get to where they want to be, and it can kind of be a two-way relationship in that way.
Wow, those are all incredible. All three are incredible piece of advice. And, I love how you kind of focus, Lauren, on like, yes, those are all beneficial if you want to go specifically into the industry, but also they translate to any aspect of life. And, just having that knowledge can really help anyone, especially maybe someone younger who's trying to figure out what the future looks like for them.
Absolutely, it does. And it's just so important to stay true to who you are, build
Yeah.
other people up, because even if someone else is getting those opportunities, I know that's something that I really struggled with when I was first getting into the industry. It's so easy to, compare yourself and try to
Hmm.
make yourself feel better by oh, why did that person get that job, et cetera, et cetera. And you realize it's such a small industry, but there's room for everybody. And
Yeah.
it's so important to build people up, because if you get a job somewhere, you want people to be excited for you. So be excited for other people because they're getting their dream job and their dream opportunity, and they're going to thrive in that. And I think that, the only way to build positivity and really feel, whole about it is to build other people up, because your time's going to come as well.
So well said. And, I think that kind of like you touched on, in a world that we live in now with social media and everything, it's so easy to kind of compare yourself to others, or like, so and so is doing this awesome thing. I wish I was doing that, or I didn't get that opportunity. But just knowing that like that's okay. Like there's room for everyone to thrive. And, as a society, we should just kind of focus on uplifting and spreading that positivity and knowing that like our time will come.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things too. Like I look back at my journey, and before I
Hmm.
got the job here at Altitude, I had interviews at multiple different regional networks, and I heard no so many times. And it was really easy to get down on myself and kind of doubt, like, am I supposed to be doing this? Am I going down the right path? And I think for me too, my faith is such a big thing for me, and that's really helped me along the way too, that maybe that wasn't the right opportunity for me, but there's a plan out there for me, and that's really going to help as long as I trust it and I follow it and I try to be the best version of myself every single day and build other people up. Eventually, that will come in time. It might take a longer time than maybe I want it to be, but sometimes it doesn't always have to be on my time. It could be
Yeah.
on God's time, or what it's going to happen when it's supposed to. And so just like trusting that and knowing that,
Right.
everything that you're doing is leading to something.
Definitely. And I think, you kind of mentioned there, and I know I've struggled with it, and I'm sure everyone has, with like when you're in the moment, you don't see kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel. You're like, oh my God, this is terrible. I made the biggest mistake. What the heck? But just kind of having that faith and persevering and knowing that like there's a plan, your time will come. It might not make sense now, but it will. And just like holding on to that faith. I think
It is,
that's,
yeah.
yeah.
It is so hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel sometimes. So it's like
Hmm.
trusting that, and also like surrounding yourself with a good support system, right? Like for
Yeah.
me, that's my parents. They've always been my number one supporters, but I also have so many amazing friends that are in the industry and out of the industry that ask questions, that build me up. And I try to do the same for them. So just like surrounding yourself with people who want to see you grow and succeed, whether that be people in the industry, but also just like good friends that you have. It's just so important to have that support system around you as well.
Definitely. And, something that I always kind of like to talk about is related in the sense of just surrounding yourself with that kind of positivity and, things that will fuel you and kind of feed your soul, whether that's, your support system or even just like social media or, news that you're kind of consuming. Like try to surround yourself with those positive kind of, sources to give you that energy and motivation and to kind of keep you going along in your journey.
Exactly. And I think that's so important too, because especially with everything right now in society, there's just so
Hmm.
much negativity. Everyone's critical of everyone else. And it's like, it's just nice to have these conversations to know,
Yeah.
you know, I'm here to build you up, not tear you
Yeah.
down. And I truly agree with that. And for me, it's my faith. For other people, it can be, playing the piano or the guitar or singing or going on a run or a walk or just having a conversation with someone. Like just find that thing that grounds you and that
Yeah.
fills you, and that moving forward, because it's so important to have something that grounds you like that, where you're not just, doing things for the glitz and the glam of it. You're doing things because you're passionate about it and you love it, and you the best that you can at it. And I think so. I think that's really important to find something that fills you. That's not just your job.
Definitely. And I think, we kind of live in a world where, and I'm 25, I just turned 25. So we're around the same age. So I think we both kind of grew up in a time where, there's a lot of pressure to almost be your job and to solely identify as what you do. But there's so much beyond it. And like finding those things that you love and that you're passionate about is so important. And, just to spend some time and energy in those things will just give you such a amount of joy that's kind of hard to explain. It just makes you such a more better, well-rounded person in all aspects of your life.
I definitely love that you just said that, because it is crazy. Like, in society now, a lot of us define ourselves by different things, right? We define
Hmm.
ourselves by our jobs, and I know for me especially, being in the broadcasting industry and seeing followers grow on social media, it can get intoxicating and you can get
Yeah.
caught up in it sometimes. And I always need to like take a step back, and my parents, my mom and my dad are really good at for this stuff too. But it's good to sometimes take a step back and be like, this is not what matters. It's like,
Right.
the amount of followers that you have doesn't matter, or like that's just I can't even think of the word that I'm looking for right now, but it's just it's insignificant, right?
Hmm.
It's like, how are you as a person? How do you treat other people? How do you do at your job, and how do you lift other people up? And so
Yeah.
sometimes when I feel like I'm getting caught up in it, I will delete my Instagram for a couple days and just, kind of get away from that. I always keep Twitter just because I love it for news and
Yeah.
keeping up with sports, et cetera. I feel like I could never delete that. But in terms of like Instagram and Facebook, I just try to like clear all that out and take a couple days to decompress and be like, that's not what's important. Have those, like,
Right.
I'm going to call maybe a friend that I haven't talked to in a while, call my grandparents who I haven't talked to in a while, call the people that have helped you get to where you're at, and have those conversations about, why I'm here again, like rerouting myself and why I started this in the first place and why this is important and how I can be the best version of myself and use that to then do my job well. Because I feel like if you fill yourself and fill your own bucket and really focus on who you are as a person, you're going to thrive in anything else that you're doing, right? So I think that's so
Hmm.
important to kind of take that step back sometimes and reground yourself and remind yourself why you started this in the first place, and don't get caught up in those little insignificant, things like followers or likes, or because that's not what it's about. It's about telling stories of these players and humanizing these incredible athletes for fans, and kind of being that bridge, that vessel of knowledge between the two, relaying the messages from the fans to the players and vice versa, and just telling the story of the team that you're covering. And that's what I try to do every single day. And that's my favorite part of my job is to, get to know the guys, not just as hockey players or not just as soccer players, but as people, and tell those stories about their families, or something that's, going on in their lives, and relate that to the fans. And then vice versa, take the fan stories and also share those as well with the players. That's like the coolest part of my job.
That is so amazing. Honestly, everything you said is just, it's so incredible and it's so great to hear. And, just one thing that came up in that point that you made is just the humanizing of players and athletes. And I think that, we live in a world where it's almost like a lot of, and not saying anything negative about fans, but sometimes we have this mentality that's like these players owe us, something, or like they can't have a bad game. They have to make every shot. And you even hear, unfortunately, some of the stories about players receiving, very toxic messages, or even threats and stuff because of missing a big, shot, or coming up a little short at something. And I think it's just so important to realize that it doesn't matter if you're an athlete, if you're, actor, singer, or even just someone that works a 9 to 5 in, business. We're all
Yeah.
humans and we all go through the same things and we all have the same human experience. It might look a little different on the surface, but we're all human and we all have bad days.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing I think is so funny too. It's because people watch these games, like fans watch these games, and because
Yeah.
like you said, this podcast is all about passion, right? Following your
Hmm.
passions and doing things you're passionate about. Sports to me equals passion. People,
Yeah.
fans who are watching the game, they're passionate about their team, they're passionate about their favorite players. And players that are playing are passionate about the sport and they're passionate, about being the best that they can be and doing the best that they can do. But what I think about is, even though you're passionate about something, you're not always going to be like you're going to make mistakes. Everyone makes
Yeah.
mistakes. We're human. If
Hmm.
we were making mistakes, I mean, this just doesn't happen. We all make mistakes and none of us are perfect, and that's the beautiful thing about it. But the thing that people have to remember is sometimes when you get caught up in that passion, you can let yourself get angry or sad
Yeah.
or elated, and it's like these like super like high highs and these super low lows. And what you have to remember is like when you're commenting to someone on social media, whether it be a player, a broadcaster, etc. It's like everyone's just trying to do their best every single day, especially this
Yeah.
past year and a half that's been,
Mm, yeah.
crazy and unprecedented and weird and wild and emotions are at an all-time high and everyone's kind of on edge, and it's just you have to remember that everyone's just doing the best that they can, but at the end of the day we're all humans. Like if someone misses a shot, I guarantee the person sitting on the couch probably wouldn't have made that shot either. I mean, I know that
Right.
I've watching the game and covering the game, I'm like, if I tried to make that shot or score that goal, like there's no chance I would have been able
Right.
to do that. And so you just gotta like again recenter yourself and remember, like for me, if I get super angry about something or super happy about something, or if someone tweets something mean at me and I'm all up in arms about it, I give it the 24-hour rule. You wait 24 hours before you say anything back because it gives you time to just sit. My dad taught me this back in the day. We call it the 24-hour rule in my family. And you sit back, you give it 24 hours, you let it marinate, and then you come up with, a logical, rational answer to say
Yeah.
back to somebody. But it's hard because a lot of the time people, just act on impulse, and that's
Right.
okay. Like we're humans again, we're making mistakes, but and we're passionate about things. But I think it's just, using that passion and centering it sometimes in a different way. But a lot of the times, a lot of the feedback is positive and people are
Yeah.
super supportive. And I know, especially like covering the Colorado Avalanche right now, the fans are some of the best fans that I've ever, worked with and been. And like, there's just the whole atmosphere that surrounds the
Hmm.
Avalanche team is just, it's some of the best, people that I've ever met and so supportive. And they love their team, they love their players, they love broadcasters, and I'm so thankful to be a part of a community that's like that. And they're passionate in a good way, if that makes sense.
It does. That's so awesome. And I love that you're kind of saying, to just kind of stay grounded. And I love the 24-hour rule. I think that's a great rule that any of us can apply to anything. But, like you said, we're all humans. So sometimes we do have those impulse gut reaction, and that's fine too. And sometimes they're good, sometimes maybe doesn't go how you wanted, but that's kind of one of those opportunities to learn and to grow. But, just kind of staying grounded and grounding yourself is so important. And with passions. And I'm sure, Lauren, you've probably experienced this kind of when you made that transition to broadcasting and everything, where when you first start, and maybe even still now for you, it can be hard to put yourself out there and to just get started in the first place. I talk to people that are like, I want to start a YouTube channel, I want to
Hmm.
build my Instagram, but like I'm scared that I'm not going to get enough likes, or that someone's going to say a mean comment, or I don't have all the equipment I need. But I think the main point is like you just have to start somewhere. Like we all start at zero, and the only
Yes.
way to get to where we want is to work on those skills and crafts.
And you said that before this podcast started too. It's like a blank can like this podcast is like a blank canvas. We
Yeah.
can talk about whatever we want to. I like kind of look at life like that, right? Like it's a blank
Yeah.
canvas and it's like instead of saying I wish I would have or maybe if I try, just like go ahead like 100% into it. Because I feel like if you're
Hmm.
gonna be successful at anything, you can't just like ride the fence. You got to jump all the way over the fence. Don't just dip your toes in, but like fully cannonball into the water, if you will. We'll use that metaphor.
Yeah.
Um, but just fully immerse yourself and give it the best try that you can. And
Hmm.
if it doesn't, guess what? It wasn't meant to be. And there's always another canvas that you can pull out of the drawer, put it down, and start painting again. And I think that that's so important. Instead of worrying about what if I get a mean comment or what if I don't get enough likes, it's not about that, right? It's
Yeah.
not about what other people think. It's about you doing something you're passionate about, following that passion and doing it to the best of your ability, and the rest will come. I truly feel like if you do things for yourself and you feel yourself and you do things that you're passionate about and do it to the best of your ability, everything else will end up coming, right? In the long run.
Yeah.
Instead of like thinking about, oh, I want to do this for the likes or I want to do this for the follows. No, do it because you love it and because you're passionate
Right.
about it, right? And then everything else will
Yeah,
follow in its footsteps.
definitely. And, don't be ashamed or anything about what your passions might be, if that makes sense. Like if you love video games, if you love knitting, whatever your passion is, like go for it. Like you don't have to follow maybe like the mainstream things we see,
Hmm.
like, singing and sports, all that good stuff. Like if that's your thing, awesome, by all means. But, whatever you're passionate about, just like go after it because like there are people that appreciate it and think it's
Yeah,
awesome.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that even applies for like
Hmm.
say you're in accounting or you're in finance or you don't even work and you're just a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
like be passionate about it and do everything you can to be the best that you can do and be the best that you can be at it. And the rest is going to come over time. And I feel like, I'm saying all this stuff and it's so much easier said than done because I
Right.
find myself falling back a lot of the time into, oh no, someone's like, I could get 100 nice comments in one mean
Yeah.
comment, and that mean comment sticks with me. But I'm human, right? So does
Right.
everybody else. And it's just remembering that it's not about that. It's not about the random people that are saying mean things. It's about, you have to remember why you started in the first place and why you love it. And
Yeah.
for me, again, it's surrounding yourself with that support system of my amazing friends and family that kind of keep me grounded in that way. And when I need a kick in the butt, they're going to give me a kick in the butt. But when I
Right.
just need someone to listen, they're also just going to be there to listen to me vent. And I'm so thankful for that.
Definitely. And now, throughout our conversation, you've mentioned the importance of knowing your why and having your why for, going after the things that you do. Do you mind me asking what your why is?
Yeah. So, wow, that's actually a really good question. My why I do broadcasting.
Yeah.
I think for me, it started with growing up. I mentioned I have two brothers and two
Hmm.
amazing parents, and growing up, I think sports were the thing that kind of centered us. Like I remember it's so funny. Like I remember going out during the summer. Michigan summers are amazing, and
Yeah.
we would set up a kickball field on our in our subdivision, like on the main road. And there was only like 18 houses in our little subdivision, so not very many cars. But I grew up in a neighborhood with like 18 kids that were all within 6 years of each other. And so my dad would go out and set up the bases, and we would have like a full-on kickball game, or we'd go shoot the basketball in our driveway on the basketball hoop that we had. Or, we would go play soccer on the grass in our backyard. And I think growing up, that was like the memories that I remember. I remember, watching the World Cup with my parents. And Brandy Chastain scoring that game-winning penalty kick. Like those are the
Hmm.
specific memories that stand out to me. I can tell you like exactly what I was wearing, and I think that was just something that my family centered on growing up, whether it be watching college football. And my family's a big Notre Dame fan, even though I went to Michigan. I know, but just or watching at the time it was the Red Wings. I know my Avs fans are not going to love me saying that, but I did grow up in Detroit, and there were some incredible teams back in the day. Or watching the Detroit Pistons, or the Lions have never been good, but even even watching, I know, not trying to like dig on anybody, but those are the
Right.
memories that stand out to me growing up as a kid. Is
Yeah.
being with my brother, playing kickball until dusk, and just growing up in that competitive atmosphere. It made me passionate about it. Playing golf with my family growing up, playing volleyball, playing soccer, playing softball, like having all of that. And my dad, oh, bless his soul, he was the coach of like all of our teams growing up when we were little. And I think just like having that experience with him and sharing that experience and creating those memories made me passionate about sports in general. And so growing up, that was kind of like what brought me back to my childhood, and it brought me happiness and it brought me joy. And it's fun because I got to connect with so many of my friends all through high school and college around that as well. And even now into my career, like you just connect with so many people that you wouldn't normally be friends with. Like two of my best friends in Denver are Mark Mosier and Peter McNabb, and they're my coworkers. And,
Hmm.
like it's just cool being able to have friendships with people of all different ages and men and women and creating different relationships with all of them. So I think my why is just it's something that I grew up loving, and I want to share that love with other people. And I think at the same time, the humanizing aspect of it, right? So like you look up to these guys and women who, play in the WNBA, et cetera, who play on the women's national team, and you see how much work they put into it and how good they are at what they do. But
Yeah.
the cool part about it is everyone has a that's not just, hey, I'm a soccer player, hey, I'm a hockey player, hey, I'm a basketball player. Similar to like me defining myself by my job. I'm not just a broadcaster, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend,
Right.
you know, I like to think of myself as an athlete sometimes, but but I think it's the humanizing aspect. And so I don't really have like an exact why, but my why is just it brings me back to my childhood, and it kind of centers me on what's important, right? And
Yeah.
being able to like humanize these players and tell their stories, that's my why. And that was a really good question. Thanks for asking that. I've
Yeah,
never
of
really
course.
thought like I've thought about it, but I've never really articulated it. So that was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, of course. And, it kind of sounds like when you talk to an athlete and, you know, they're an athlete because they've always loved the game. That's what they grew up around. That's their whole livelihood. And it kind of sounds like sports, which kind of connected you with family and friends from a young age. That's what has always got you excited. And that's kind of what has led you now to what you do and being able to share those stories and connect people. And even, the fans that you might never meet or talk to, just knowing like, hey, by broadcasting this game, a family in Michigan, sat around the TV together and got a pizza and watched and maybe heard what I had to say or heard some story that I covered, and that helped them have some good family time.
Exactly. And it's like those are my memories when I was
Yeah,
a kid is sitting and watching, golf or basketball or hockey or soccer or football, whatever sport it may be.
yeah,
Um, and having those conversations with my family and just being able to sit and have a meal and watch sports. And it's really cool to be able to, maybe be a part of that for someone else. And even if, things that I'm saying like only impact one or two people, that's okay. One or two people are impacted. That's the powerful thing is like using your platform. Granted, like I don't have the
hmm,
biggest platform in the world. Other people have way more massive platforms, but I think it's just so important to, share those passions and help yourself like reground yourself and recenter yourself on what's important, why you're doing something and how that impacts other people.
definitely. And I guess just to give you a little backstory, or I guess sneak peek into my life a little bit. We kind of chatted about it briefly before, off the record, but um, to anyone listening, I so I'm in Metro Detroit. Grew up a big Detroit sports fan, and
Hmm.
I don't know, a few years ago is the Pistons and I think Red Wings too would have like a lot of watch parties at like a local casino in Detroit, and put on those kind of, everyone watches the game. There's some good food, and that's actually the first time that like I ever stumbled across you. You're at
Oh,
the event, and
that
you're
Motor
kind of like,
City.
yeah, 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 at Motor City.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Pistons Cavs. I remember that.
Yep. Oh my gosh,
Beyond
that
that, I
is
couldn't
so
tell you
funny. That
much.
takes me
Yeah,
back. How awesome.
but yeah, like that's kind of like where granted, I think I said like hi and like you said hello, and that was it. But I went to that event with my dad, and just like, having that experience and seeing the great, atmosphere that you created along with everyone else that put on that event, was such a great family moment for me and like a bonding moment with my dad. And, even just the fact that because you were doing what you were doing in sports, that kind of led me to this point where now we're talking. Like, if it wasn't for sports, I don't think we would have ever connected or even known about each other's existence.
Oh my gosh, Zach, that is so cool. I'm actually like tearing
Yeah.
up a little bit because like that, I mean, wow, like that brings me back to like such an incredible memory. And oh my gosh, like it's like things that you know really remember. Like, I remember
Yeah.
growing up, I was in Boston with my family, and
Hmm.
we were at a hotel, and for me growing up, like, I really looked up to Mia Hamm. I played
Yeah.
soccer growing up, and, she was staying at the hotel that we were in. We ended up, like, going to watch the US Women's National Team play, and the elevator doors open, and she walked out of the elevator, and I'm like, "Oh my god, Dad, that's Mia Hamm." And I'm like, "Mia!" She's like, "Hi, how are you?" And we had maybe like a 30-second, and I was like 10. But that's
Yeah.
something that stuck with me too. It's like I was with my dad, and that stood out to me. And again, if it wasn't for sports and like having a mentor, like not necessarily a mentor, but just someone to look up to like that, like a woman in
Yeah.
sports, it's just those little moments stand out to you, and they all help build you to who you are today. So that's so cool that you said that. I'm so glad that you brought that up.
Yeah.
And what a cool moment for you and your dad too. I think the Pistons lost that game, but hey, it's
Yeah.
okay. But what a fun night, and what a fun,
Yeah.
experience to have and to remember.
Definitely, it's just like it's those little things that just kind of add up, and the idea that we all make such an impact in the world, even if you don't see it or feel it, you don't know how far your reach actually goes until someone comes up to you and they're like, "Hey, like you probably don't remember this, but like you said this one thing to me, you took, 30 seconds out of your life to chat about something and it completely changed my life or even the trajectory that I was on."
Absolutely, and I feel like, you're in a certain place for a certain reason
Yeah,
at a certain time, and
exactly.
I truly believe in that, and, um, it just goes to show you, how much of an impact you can have, and even if it's, again, just on one person, like, you doing this podcast, it's so cool. You reach probably so many people who just maybe need someone, to listen to, or,
Yeah.
like, brighten someone's day a little bit, and so it's just super cool, to see everything that you're doing and that everyone else like coming up in the industry is doing, and I'm just really happy that you asked me to be a part of it. So I really I appreciate it. Like, this is such a great conversation. I'm having such a good
Yeah,
time.
of course, and, I definitely wanna say the same to you, just you kinda talked about earlier about having mentors and having people that, even if it's, like, the littlest thing that they're helping you on the journey, like, you don't forget that, and it means so much, and, I mean, just to give you a little perspective, like, me just, living my normal life and then seeing I have an email from you, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is really cool," and to see that you're interested and then connecting with you, and, just even this conversation right now, it's something that I, honest to God, will never forget. Doesn't matter, like, if I, go into podcasting for the rest of my life, if this blows up and a million people listen to it or, one person listens to it, just like to have this experience and to be able to connect. And, I've always liked, connecting with people, and I've always loved like talk show hosts and hosts in general. So to talk to someone like yourself in the industry and for you to take the time to offer advice and, just to share your journey, I mean, it means so much. So I just want to thank you for taking the time to be a part of this conversation.
That means so much to me too. Like, thank you for saying that. And it's
Yeah.
so funny, like, you're like, to get an email from you, it's like I feel just like I'm a normal person, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and it's cool because I'm a normal person that's just that got lucky and get to talk about sports for my job. And
Yeah.
I feel so lucky and so blessed. But again, it's like I did not do it on my own. And it was
Right.
so many people that have helped me get to where I'm at. And I still want to keep growing and learning and continue
Yeah.
to be better every single day, right? Because I feel like, you don't want to get complacent.
Right.
You want to just keep growing and learning and reaching other people and, creating those connections. This is truly one of my favorite podcasts because I feel like it's so important. Like, it's so easy to just talk about, you know, like my journey and my job,
Yeah.
and same with you, and kind of like label yourself by that. But again, it's like the why are you doing what you're doing?
Right.
Why are you passionate about it? Like what does that bring you back to? And I think that that's so important to be able to tell that story as well, because it's so easy to look at social media now and see people's highlight reels, and it's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, they're killing it and they're doing such a good job, and oh, they have followers, and oh, whatever. And um again, that's just not what it's about, and it's
Right.
okay to be happy at certain times. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to feel sometimes like I look at it, and sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this again? Why am I here? How did I get here? And sometimes I don't even feel like I'm still qualified enough to be able to do my job, you know?
Yeah.
But that's like when that doubt comes in. And again, like it's just having those conversations, remembering I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it and because I love it and because I want to reach other people and help other people grow and help other people become the best versions of themselves. And so just like recentering yourself on that when you feel that doubt creeping in, or when you feel sad, or when you feel like you're comparing yourself, because it's just so important to be true to who you are and remember why you're doing something. Um, and so it's nice to be able to talk about that, because I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of the time it's more just talking about the job rather
Right.
than why, you know? And so I appreciate you asking these kinds of
Yeah.
questions.
Of course. And, when it comes to being grounded, you kind of mentioned that, you've done it in the past and you still do it. And I encourage anyone listening, like, if you are feeling that doubt or, that kind of imposter syndrome of like, I shouldn't be doing this, I don't belong here, don't be afraid to reach out to your support system and just say, like, hey, like, I'm struggling, like, or, I'm having a hard time with this or that. That's what they're
Hmm.
there for. I spent so much of my life thinking, like, we make friends so we can say, like, oh my God, I just got into, my dream school. I just got a new job. I got a promotion. But friends are there, and those friendships and support systems and family, loved ones, they're there for the good and the bad times, and
Hmm.
they're going to support you through it. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Exactly. They're there to celebrate your victories, but
Yeah.
they're also there to support you when you're in your low times. And I
Yeah.
can even tell, like even now, I have my dream job and I love what I'm doing. And I'm
Hmm.
so thankful to my boss for giving me the opportunity when maybe I wasn't qualified enough for this job and he took a chance on me. And I'm so thankful for my colleagues and coworkers who have helped me grow and learn. And I'm never afraid to ask them a question, albeit even if I think it's a dumb question. There's no such thing as dumb questions, by the way.
Right.
But there's even times where I sit back and I'm like, I'm really sad right now. And I can't even pinpoint why. And I feel like even like during COVID, especially, it's like everyone feels a little bit alone or
Hmm.
lonely, or, you know, it gets mundane after a while, right? Because you don't have the access to things you used to have the access. Maybe you're not seeing your friends and family as much as you want to. And it's like, I know we're not going to talk a lot about mental health, but again, it's like mental health is such a stigma. And even if it's not like full blown depression or anxiety, but even if you're just feeling okay to like bring that up to people who are around you and be
Yeah.
like, I'm bummed out right now. And I don't know why, even though I have my dream job, I have a phenomenal support system. I just feel like I'm alone. And it's okay to tell people that too, right? It's okay to feel that
Hmm.
way and let yourself feel that way, because you don't have to be okay all the time. And then sometimes, especially when I get in states like that, again, I delete my social media, because social media is an absolute highlight reel. You're looking at everyone's
Yeah.
highs for the most part. Um, and a lot of the time when you're in a low state and you're looking at other people's highs, it puts you in an even lower state. So just
Yeah.
recenter yourself and take care of like what you need to take care of. Have those conversations with people and know that it's okay sometimes to feel sad or not be okay. And that's completely normal too. And I just want to let people know, like, I go through that, and um again, it's like the highlight reel thing. It's
Yeah.
just recenter yourself on what's important and know that it's okay sometimes to feel sad or not to fully know, or I guess fully know, what you're doing. It's okay sometimes to be like, I
Yeah.
don't know what the heck I'm doing right now. I'm just gonna wing it and see if it works out.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, first so much for sharing a little bit about kind of like your personal experiences and part of your journey, but also just bringing up the idea of mental health. I actually did my undergrad in psychology, so mental health is something I'm super passionate about, and I feel like
Hmm.
whether I bring it up or someone else does, I feel like every episode it comes up to some extent. But it's so important, and I think that like you mentioned, we're getting to a better place, but there is still kind of that stigma around it. And, for maybe the two of us, growing up, it was more of like a taboo topic to talk about. And, I think the younger generations are doing a great job bringing it to the forefront, but it's
Hmm.
so important to talk about and just to be open with it. And, it's scary. It can be uncomfortable. And I'm not saying we all have to go blast our, deepest, darkest thoughts and feelings on the internet, but just to know that, like, what you're feeling is valid, but also you're
Mhm.
not alone in it. There's going to be people that are experiencing similar things, and you can talk to those people or your families, friends. Definitely mental health professionals are there for you too. There's just so many resources out there, and as long as we can continue to have those conversations, and people like yourself, Lauren, who do have a platform and can speak upon these things, it's making an impact and putting us in a better future and giving younger people who all they really know is the social media era, that there's humans behind the Instagrams and the TikToks and all that, and just knowing that it's okay to not be okay, and that there are resources and people that care and can support you during those times.
Yeah, absolutely, and just have those conversations about it, right? Like, don't
Yeah.
feel like, "I'm weird for feeling this way," or,
Right.
"This isn't normal." Like, it is normal. I feel like it's more
Yeah.
normal, to feel that way than to not feel that way sometimes.
Right.
And especially this year when everyone's been like alone, like
Yeah.
it's just like when you spend a lot of time on your own. I don't know if anyone else is like this, but I definitely am an overthinker and I get in
Yeah.
my own head. And then like it's just a slippery slope where you just keep thinking, you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And it's just a slippery slope and you just can't let yourself get to that place. You have to talk about it, talk to
Yeah.
people. Even if like I practice this thing, and it sounds kind of weird. I don't know what it's called, but my friend told me about it. And you time yourself for 8 minutes and you just write. You write down just whatever you're thinking, whatever's in your head. And after the 8 minutes, you put down the pen, you're done. And you take the sheet of paper, you don't read it, you don't look at it, but you just light it on fire and burn it. And it's actually like a really liberating feeling. It sounds weird. I
Yeah.
promise it's not some like voodoo weird thing, but it actually it like gets whatever you're feeling off your chest. But don't
Yeah.
go back and read it. It's just a stream of consciousness. You write, and I actually practice that probably like once a month, and it's liberating. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
And I've gotten my friends to do it, and they're like, "Wow, this is actually." I feel like I thought you were weird at first for saying this, but then they tried it out and they were like, "This is actually really nice. I'm gonna keep doing this." So, I encourage people to find ways to decompress and feel, and just let yourself feel all the feels.
Definitely. And I I love that idea. It maybe does sound a little
It
little
sounds like weird
different.
voodoo-y a little
Yeah.
bit.
But yeah, just gonna have like some ritual or something in the corner. But
Yeah.
no, I think it's a great idea. And even just the idea, it kind of goes back to the whole, like, if you're upset at someone, like, type up the email, then like don't send it, whatever. Kind of a little different, but kind of similarity with the overlap there. But I think, yeah, if we can write out what our feelings are or our thoughts on something and then just kind of get rid
Mhm.
of it, like, we've had that time to express ourselves, and then we just kind of like, let's move on, and maybe bring it back to, come full circle. If it still
Mhm.
bothers you after 24 hours, then maybe
Yeah, the
maybe readdress it.
24-hour rule. I
Yeah.
love it. You're bringing it back up. That's great.
Definitely. Oh man, awesome. Well, there's one thing that I do want to bring up real quick and just
Yeah.
kind of get your thoughts on it. So, I from following you on social media, I know that you are quite the singer, and I've heard you were able to sing the national anthem and everything. Is that kind of just
Yeah.
like, is that another passion of yours, or is that just kind of like a hobby escape kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say both, right?
Okay.
So, it is definitely a passion of mine. I've never really taken singing lessons, but I also like playing the guitar. I taught
Yeah.
myself. I found like my mom had an old guitar from when she was in high school. And then when I was in high school, I found it in our basement in our storage room. And I'm like, what the heck, mom? You never told me you had a guitar. She's like, oh, yeah, I forgot that was in there. So I grabbed it and I just kind of started, playing, like watching YouTube videos and just teaching myself different chords and different
Yeah.
songs. And that's become an awesome way to decompress for me. I like
Yeah.
writing songs, I like singing, and it's just some people go on a run, some people listen to music. For me, it's like I like writing and playing music. And it's not great, I'll tell you. Like some of the songs I've heard remind me of like early Taylor Swift days or whatever, but but it's a way for me to be able to decompress. I put my phone down
Yeah.
and I write and I play and I sing and I just kind of get in the zone and I can do that for hours. But in terms of singing the national anthem, Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so lucky and fortunate to be able to work for people who trust me to do something like that. I can honestly tell you, I have never been so nervous for something in my entire life. Like
Yeah.
truly, Alan Roach, who's our PA announcer, goes, and now the national anthem sung by Altitude TV's Lauren Jbara, and I blacked out. I cannot tell you what happened. I just remember like coming to was done and people were clapping and cheering, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that just happened. But
Yeah.
it's such a cool and incredible experience, and I'm so fortunate to be able to work for a company that trusts me and allows me to do that, and to kind of share that passion also with my passion of sports. So
Yeah.
being able to have two passions in the same place, it's really cool.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I remember seeing, I don't know if you posted it or someone posted it, but I saw kind of like the clip of you singing and I was like, that's so cool that you're able to do it. And, I assumed that was another passion. So combining, what you actually do, for work with singing was really cool. And I love that, you've been able to find music, guitar, singing and even writing too is kind of like a way to
Mhm.
just channel some feelings, emotions, thoughts, and just, unplug from the world and just kind of get in your own little world for a little bit.
Absolutely. And whatever that may be for, people that are listening, like you said, knitting or watching sports or singing or
Yeah.
going on a walk or a run, or just whatever that may be, just
Yeah.
find that passion and follow it because it's a really, great way to live life to the fullest.
Definitely. I have to ask, is there any future where we might be seeing some of these original songs or anything like that coming out to light?
Maybe we'll see. We'll see. Only time will tell. And I
Okay.
know, like, I'm preaching, like, step out of your comfort zone, do it. And then here I am, like, oh, I don't know if I want anyone to hear. I bet one day, maybe I'll record one or two of them and grace with my OG songs. But right now, they're more just for me. So I'll
Okay.
keep those on the DL.
Okay, perfect. Well, hey, maybe one day I'd love to see you like interview yourself as the performer, take that hosting career, mix it with the music career, and just kind of
Oh my
like
gosh.
stitch together some video where you're like, okay, time to ask questions, and then you pan over and then you answer
Like
your
a
own
back and
question.
forth. Yeah,
Yep.
back and forth with myself. That'd be funny. That's good.
There we
Yeah.
go.
We'll jot that down in the suggestion box. I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, and maybe you have to write a song about like the Avalanche, and then
Absolutely. Fingers crossed, hopefully, if they win the whole thing, which
there
they
we
have a
go.
good shot. They're an awesome team. I'm excited
Yeah.
to watch them play the rest of the season, then into next year as well.
I have to admit, it kind of hurts me hearing you say, someone
I'm sorry.
non-Detroit team, but no, totally understandable. And great teams out in Colorado, and seems like a really great market with some awesome fans, awesome
Hmm.
personnel,
Absolutely.
fellow reporters, and everyone that makes Colorado sports what they are. It seems like a great place to be.
Yeah, and I'm so fortunate and lucky to be
Yeah,
out here. I've met some incredible people, continue to meet incredible people every day. And the Avs fans are phenomenal, some of the best fans
yeah,
in the league. And I'm just lucky to be, part of one such a great crew with my colleagues, such a great
hmm
organization with Cronky Sports and the Avalanche in general, and three, just such a great fan base. I couldn't have asked for a better job or better place to be.
I love that. That makes me happy to hear. And just from our interactions, like I can say that you're so deserving of it, and
Oh,
just
thank
to see you
you.
kind
That's
of
so
do
nice.
live out your dream, it's awesome, and it's
Thank you
inspiring
so much,
too.
Zach.
To me and everyone else. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you. Like truly, that means so much. And
Yeah,
I'm you asked me to be on this podcast. It's
of
you ask
course.
great questions, and it's cool
Thank you.
to for you to be able to follow your passion of talking to people
Yeah.
and getting to know people and asking them about their passions. Like what a cool thing.
Definitely, I appreciate it so much. Lauren, if anything that you said has like really resonated with someone, or just to be able to follow your career, do you want to kind of put out your socials?
Yeah, sure. So if you want to follow, I have Instagram and Twitter. It's just my name, Lauren Jbara, Jbara. Or if you have a question or just want to chat, because I love just chatting with people and I love mentoring people who want to come up in the industry. Or even if you don't want to come up in the industry, you just want to chat and become friends. Let's do it. I love meeting people, hearing people's stories. So just reach out on Twitter or Instagram and let's have those conversations. It's great.
Awesome. So I will also put your socials in the description of this episode. So anyone that's
Cool.
listening, if you just want to click down there, Lauren is awesome. Go have those conversations, follow some sports. If you live in Michigan, please don't leave my allegiance for Michigan teams, but go support someone awesome and go support the teams out there too, of course. But Lauren, is there anything, since we're wrapping up, that you want to kind of leave the listeners with, or any last message?
Yeah, just thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And, I wouldn't have been here without so many people who've helped support me and mentor me along the way. So I'm just so thankful, and keep following your passions, keep following your dreams, and everything you do, just go into it 150%, and the rest will come. Um, so yeah, those are my parting words.
Awesome. Well, thank you for those. I think that's a great summation of kind of what we've talked about, and just, going all in on things that you love, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Do what you love and everything else will follow. But, Lauren, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to talk to you, getting to know you, and just having this conversation. We all miss you here in Detroit, but it's so awesome to see you doing huge things out in Denver. And I have no doubt that, whatever the journey looks like, whether it's, what you're doing, maybe something else, whatever it takes, wherever life takes you, you're going to be doing great things. I know you're going to be using your platform to inspire, mentor, help so many people, and just bringing that positive energy and, just personality that you have in everything you do. So thank you for what you do for, this world, and the positivity you put out there. And
Oh my gosh, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you. And seriously, thank
of
you so
course,
much for reaching out and having me on
yeah,
this podcast. This is
of
awesome. Keep
course,
doing what you love and keep sharing people's stories, because it's
definitely.
super fun to listen to how people have gotten to where they're at and why they're passionate about it. So keep doing that. That's awesome. Thank you for
Thank you.
for asking me to come on. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Zach.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.